Hi, good morning everyone. I hope this finds you well. So we have survived the first weekend of lockdown 2.0, as I've heard it referred to in some quarters, and at least I'm guessing in most of the areas that we live in we got some good weather, at least on Saturday, to get out for walks, even though it was a bit more dreary yesterday. So hopefully you had as good a weekend as you can have done within the restrictions that we've got at the moment. Just wanted to comment on a couple of things this morning. So firstly, really to music, thank you for your patience with the number of conversations that were taking place last week and will continue to take place this week regarding the different groups that we had talked about before, people not impacted, the people at 90%, and those of you who are more significantly impacted. Thank you for your patience in those and for your professional way that you're approaching them, and do make sure that you ask any questions that you've got, and if you don't feel that you're getting the information that you need, then please keep in touch. A couple of you have asked about the impact of the Chancellor extending the furlough scheme, whether that would mean that we would do anything different, what kind of impact it has on us. Well, really I set out a course of action based on what we knew with school orders and such like, and so we won't be changing that course of action because we've not seen anything dramatically different in the behaviour of schools at the moment in a negative way. That's what I mean. If we were to fully use the job retention scheme, that would mean looking at a maximum of 80% salary for a much larger number of colleagues. So that doesn't feel right to go back on what we said already, because nothing else has fundamentally changed. It does provide perhaps some more options for those of you in Group 3 and where there was a significant reduction in hours, but you know we're talking to you about those individually. Ironically, the announcement that was made last week impacts us negatively overall financially. You might be wondering how on earth that is possible, and I'm wondering whether the Chancellor has missed something, but you may have read that they were delaying or reconsidering or pausing the coronavirus job bonus scheme, which would pay £1,000 back for every job that was brought back from furlough, and we had factored that money coming in later this financial year, and it doesn't look like that will happen now. So there's a frustration in that, and actually I've got a meeting with the Chamber this week just to explain the situation that we're in with that, because that will be mirrored probably in much bigger numbers with a number of companies across the area. One thing that happened last week, and again apologies, this is a very music specific comment, but it was very pertinent to things that could have been different last week. There was a doubt for maybe 48 hours as to whether music would be allowed to continue in schools during lockdown, and as you know, I mentioned last week that Stuart and I had written to various people, including Music Mark and the Arts Council, and I know Stuart then advocated for that in a larger meeting later in the week with heads of music and Music Mark. So was very relieved when on Thursday it was confirmed that the guidance hadn't changed, and I'm sure those of you share that relief, because it would have been much more complicated and challenging for us to continue delivery in schools if we weren't allowed into schools. So that was something good that came out last week. Other things, just again, I want to make a comment on well-being, particularly given we're in these days where it's kind of dark at both ends of the day. If you're on a working from home day, then please do feel free to pause and get out at whatever time in the day works best for you, and if that gap in the weather and your diary ends up being in the middle of the morning, then grab that moment when it's there. I know you'll adjust time as and when. So don't feel it can only be at lunchtime. It's much more important that you get out and get some fresh air when you can. And continue to share on Yammer ways that we can support each other, or indeed our communities in this period. I'll start a Yammer post after sending this, and it would be good to get any ideas. Something I did last week, I was struck that a new independent coffee shop had started up near me probably 5-6 weeks ago, and I'd taken my laptop down there. It was an hour a week at a lunchtime, and just sitting and doing some emails there instead of at home, and thought that okay, can't do that at the moment, but maybe just to support them should continue to go and at least once a week buy a takeaway coffee from them. And I walked down there on Friday morning, and was really heartened to hear that they'd had the busiest morning that they'd had in the 6 weeks that they had been open, because it seemed that everybody was taking that approach. So you'll have other ideas or things that you've come across that will be good to share, so we look forward to hearing about them on Yammer. So I'll leave that there for today. Have a good day. As ever, if you've got any questions, queries, concerns, don't hesitate to get in touch with myself, your line manager, an SLT member, and we'll